Welcome to the Mark on Marketing Live Show. I'm your host, Mark Weisenburger. I am a disruptive marketer, two-time #1 best-selling author, and the host of the Mark on Marketing Live Show. Let's jump right into the show today with our guest. I'll introduce her with her bio. Sigrid is a three-time #1 best-selling author, business and marketing consultant, and coach. Sigrid is the founder and director of Sticky Beck Marketing and was nominated for the, you'll have to correct me on this, Sigrid, Telstra Business Women of the Year Award in 2015. It all started with being the winner of a trip to the Bahamas when Sigrid was just 18 years old and achieved top marks in sales and marketing competition. Later, Sigrid formally studied marketing and successfully built and sold a number of her own businesses in a variety of industries to a level where buyers were pushing in fast to be the first to buy her systematized and profitable businesses. As a speaker, Sigrid excels in delivering clear, practical, hands-on seminars and workshops on the most up-to-date marketing topics for clients and organizations. Sigrid has developed presentations has presented at the Jewelry Fair in Brisbane, BNI Brisbane South, BNI Kuala Lumpur, BNI Switzerland, BNI Hong Kong, WNA, and Terry Cooper in Brisbane. She presents at various networking groups as well as regular holding face-to-face and online workshops. As a director consultant for BNI Gold Coast region, she created and presented weekly group training sessions over an 8-month period. Sigrid also offers personalized marketing workshops for businesses. Please help me welcome our guest, three-time #1 best-selling author, Sigrid de Kaste. And I'm sure I've mispronounced that. Is that right, Sigrid?
Hi, Mark. It's really great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to being part of this here today. Sigrid de Kaste, yes, the first name Sigrid is German origin and de Kaste is Dutch, so quite a combination. And I'm living in Brisbane in Australia, so very, very international, very multicultural, if that's the way you want to say it.
Well, that is awesome. We are excited to have you. We're going to be talking about some leadership skills today for our audience. And Sigrid, if you would just go on and share with the audience, maybe 45, 60 seconds, some information that was not in the bio, so we get to know you, the person.
Fantastic. Yes, I will do that. So my background or leadership has come about in the time when I was coming through from, originally I was trained as a photographer. It was a traineeship in my days back in Germany. And I've come through from when we were actually still cut and paste, literally cut and paste advertising ads for papers and for brochures. So those days are long gone now. It's so much easier now with the digital way of doing that. And I've always worked with fantastic people. I don't know, I wasn't aware how unique for some other business owners that to build your team successfully. I've carried that through from those early days right through to my own businesses. I've owned a couple of bricks and mortar businesses in between. And my teams were fantastic. They were reliable, they worked well. And I always thought that it was just a natural way of being when you have a business, that you have your team support you. And when I was in consulting with my Sticky Beak marketing company, with my Sticky Beak marketing agency, I heard from other business owners that it's not that easy for them to find reliable, loyal staff. So that's how my journey's come through.
Great. We appreciate you sharing that information with us. And yeah, I think it's amazing as you get out in the field, the challenges businesses have and the ability you have to solve those challenges for them. So Sigrid, let's kick this off. And I'm going to start off with why and how Does leadership style make or break your business? And of course, before you answer that, I want you to give yourself a little plug on your latest book on leadership, which is really where all these questions come from today.
Well, the book that's got those questions is 5 Practical Steps to Find and Keep Great People. And it's all about the ultimate employee performance guide. So that is where everything's been combined into. That is where I put all the information that I have and that I collected over 5 years in bricks and mortar businesses and working with teams and working with people that I had to rely on, and they had to be loyal to present the business for me as well. That's where that's all coming from. So why does leadership, the leadership style, make or break your business? It really became relevant to me when I was consulting to business owners that had issues with their staff, with their people. When you have people in your business that are not coming to work, or that are not doing the work you're laying out for them, or in this particular area where you are the the expert in, Mark, where you really have to build the team to bring the volume together, you want to have the people like you and rely on what you say to follow those ideas, because you've already been there, so they really need to take on board what you say. If that is not happening, your business will not expand, and you can't create bigger teams and more volume in your network, which is what you need to do. You need to collect that larger and larger network, and people really need to follow you and believe what you say. So it makes and breaks your business totally, particularly in that network, in creating those networks of people.
Yeah, exactly. And as you were sharing that, I thought back on my own situation when I was growing a network marketing business. And, I take full responsibility for myself. Nothing, I make my own decisions. No one makes those decisions for me. However, there was one company that I was with, and my upline leader, 2 levels up, their leadership style just was not to my liking, and so to say. So, and that was part of the reason I left that company, was in that business was, our personality just kind of clashed a little bit in leadership style. And of course, we're all entrepreneurs. And so when we're entrepreneurs, we have our own little feelings and opinions. And, sometimes we can get a little headstrong. And so how would you suggest resolving a challenge like that possibly?
Look, it is definitely about that we all are different personalities, and that is something I'm certainly touching on. And I realized as I was working with people, you have people that are really fantastic at promoting something. They love promoting things. They love promoting you, the product, the company. And those people need to be handled in a different way to those that are always looking at what's the best possible way of dealing with something. They are much more quiet people, and they look at details, and they usually find things that are not working. Well, those types of people, you need to handle them different, work with them differently, and you need to find where they like to be praised, for instance, so that they're not just looking at things that are not working, but that you can actually stimulate them to move forward and say, yes, this is working. So different personalities are the ways to take into account when you're working with teams, and getting to know a little bit about the types of personalities that are out there is very useful when you are the leader of a team. Now, you don't have to go into it in great detail necessarily. There are 4 foundational personality types, and just knowing about those and how they interact with each other is very useful when you have that challenge that you've just described to us.
Yeah, great. And I'm grateful that you touched on the personalities and the 4 different types of personalities, because that was a question I wanted to ask, but I didn't put it on my list because I've done a little studying on personality types and what have you, and I figured that was like a 3-day show in and of itself. So I kind of left that one alone. So good. So how can a team leader set themselves up as a respected leader?
Make sure that you respect your people. No matter who they are, no matter what personality they are, respect them first. Always think the best of your people. And in doing that, you already are creating a kind of a synergy, a kind of an energy around yourself that transfers right to the other person. They can feel it, whether they know that they can feel it or not, but there is just that really fantastic positive energy. Respect the other person and think the very best of them, and they will come up to that challenge whether they realize it or not. We all know that we are good at certain things, and when we can feel the person across from us recognizes us for being great, that creates respect immediately, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, if you want to be a respected leader, then respect those individuals that you are leaders of. I've been in situations and have seen situations where sometimes the leader, and I use the term loosely in this comment, but the perceived leader or someone that's supposed to be the leader seems to be a little arrogant and a little condescending when they talk to their team members, because I'm better than you because I'm above you and I make more money or sell more product or recruit more, whatever. And so I agree with that 100%. If you want to be a respected leader, then respect those around you.
Absolutely.
So let's move on with the next question. What are a couple of the communication secrets to create distributor satisfaction?
Mark, from my days in network marketing with a variety of companies, I realized that sometimes, as you've just shared with us, when the higher upline feels superior to the rest of the networking team, it's important to realize when you are the leader that everyone has their place. And when you are sharing information with your team, do not just praise those that do well, but particularly praise those that might be struggling a little bit, those that seem to not quite get there, what their goals are, even though they set them enthusiastically. There may be a huge variety of reasons for a person not performing so well, struggling with something. When you can acknowledge that as the leader, when you can have a quiet word with them, they just come out of their shell so much easier, and all of a sudden things move and things happen for them, and of course then for you as the leader too. The more you can acknowledge those that are quieter in your team as well, the more the strengths of your team will come together. All those links connect a lot deeper and a lot stronger for you and for the team with that. The secret is to be aware of all of the people in your team, not just those that are constantly there and in front of you and really doing well. The quieter ones want to do well, they just don't, personality-wise or whatever their reasons are, always speak up as much. So I think that is what sometimes leaders just don't realize. The quieter ones have the same value as those that do well and perform. That's a big one.
Yeah, and as you were talking about that, I started thinking that a lot of times those individuals that are struggling, they may very well be working twice or 3 times or 4 times harder than someone else, but they just don't have the skill. But so you need to, as a leader, recognize their effort, recognize what they're putting in. And of course, you mentioned this, never, and you didn't use this word, I'm not sure what you used, but I'm going to use, never chastise them or bring their flaws out in front of the rest of the team members.
No.
If you see something that they can improve on, go ahead and catch them after the meeting, pull them off to the side, give them a call the next day, and have that one-to-one conversation. Because I remember back in school, and of course I'm just a hillbilly from Idaho. I grew up on a farm, and I was the shy, quiet one in school. And I had a few teachers. I remember my freshman year in high school, the first day, and I'm going to use his name, but Mr. Smith, I forget the exact question, but Mr. Smith asked me a question. And I responded. It was an English class, and I responded, and my answer was grammatically incorrect. And so in front of 30 of my peers and friends, he corrected me. And from that day forth, I just kind of sat in the back of the room, and he had not just in his class, but all classes, and I wouldn't come forward and participate. And so always be sensitive to that. That's how true leaders are.
Being very sensitive to other people. That's what I would agree, Mark, what leaders are. They are sensitive to their surrounds and to their people, recognizing the strengths in others. Everyone has strengths. You look where you've come through, who you are today compared to that shy, quiet boy back in those days. And many people have those experiences. They stay with us for a long time until we recognize that we can actually shake that off and be different and become leaders ourselves, as you have become too. So,
yeah, and this is a little off topic, but if you are that team member that is struggling, and maybe your upline leadership or even a downline has said something in public to humiliate you, just kind of ignore that. I'm going to share a little story real quick here. Again, like I say, it's off the subject, but I remember my very first podcast that I ever recorded and put up. And Sigrid, you and I are in a lot of the same Facebook community, so I'm not going to use any names, but I posted in these communities, hey, it's my first podcast. Would really appreciate it if you'd go out, like it, leave me a positive review and comment or whatever. And this wasn't in public, but one of the individuals in one of those groups came back and they told me every single thing that was wrong with that podcast and with the channel and with me and with everything else. And this time they could not feel like they could give me a review, but maybe they would at some future date. And that was pretty devastating to me, because I remember before I ever posted that, I sat there at my computer for about a half an hour trying to push the button, but I couldn't do it. And my wife walked by and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I've got this podcast I'm supposed to push, but I'm too nervous." And she said, "I don't feel sorry for you. You tell your clients to do it all the time, so just push the stupid button." But her comments could have came back and just devastated me, and that could have been my first and last podcast. And of course, if that would have happened, I sure as heck would not be here on Facebook Live where everyone could see my face and see the mistakes I make.
And that's exactly what I was referring to a bit earlier, Mark. That's a type of person who sees the things that are not working. Now, you are bigger than that. You can see what is working and taking those comments on board by saying, "Hey, thanks for pointing that out. Great, I'm going to do it different next time." And doing that as a leader of your team. If a team member, comes back to you out of your network marketing group and says, "Oh, but this is not working and that's not working," which happens, you can be happy and smile at them and say, oh, fantastic feedback, thank you, let's do it better. And, you know, by the way, if you know how it works better, how about you give me a hand? That can work really well too, because it challenges them to take on more than what they did so far, perhaps.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. I appreciate that. That's an awesome suggestion. So in network marketing, the daily tasks can be a little tedious, as well as, you know, scary a little bit. So as a leader, how can I make the daily tasks for my downline fun and more enjoyable, so that they, rather than going, oh, no, I got to talk to so-and-so today, but, oh, good, I get to talk to so-and-so today. Are there any ways to make that fun?
Look, you got to make sure it's fun for yourself and bring yourself to see it as fun, which it is. Think of all the things that are fun in that. You get to meet new people. You get to hear new ways of doing things. You hear a whole range of new ideas. You talk on different topics with people. That whole connection with other people is just fantastic. Every day I learn something new, particularly when you come across a variety of people from different, like myself, different cultural backgrounds. There are always things to talk about. Might not apply for males so much, but women, we love talking about cooking, foods, you know, fashion, things like that. I'm sure there are things for men as well, sports and that sort of thing. There are so many things to talk about. So when you send your team out or you talk about your daily activities, you need to go and make some calls or catch up with people, remind them of, at the moment, there's a game coming up, talk about that perhaps to make that connection, to warm up with that person, talk about things that are happening at the moment out there, talk about something established, what they like, by asking questions. Make it important to ask questions, not just telling them things. And be yourself, just be real, be you, and make that connection with people. Because as you are you, they get to know you, they get to like you, and then they trust you, and you can take it then further to introduce them to your product or new products.
Yeah, great, and I love that. And I'm going to share a personal experience and story that really changed my life. And I used to do a lot of networking, and sometimes that becomes tedious, even though I like to go and talk to people. But where I live, I usually have to drive minimum of 30 minutes to an hour to get to any meetings, and sometimes it just gets old. But I was being coached by, I don't know if you want to call him a business coach or life coach or what you want to call him. But about the second session in, he asked me, Mark, he says, Mark, what is your purpose? And of course, I've been asked that 1,000 times before. And I always said the politically correct thing, I want to save the world. I want to save the puppies, the kitty cats, the children, whatever the politically correct answer was. And I looked at him, I said, honestly, all I really want to do is goof off. and his response took me by surprise. He said, good for you. Then that's what you need to do. And I pondered that for a minute. And after, when I got thinking about that, and I had to go to a networking meeting where I had to pick up the phone and call someone, and I didn't want to do that. I just thought, what better way to goof off than to call and schedule a lunch or get in the car and go to a networking meeting where I can visit with 20 and 30 of my friends and have that be my business and build my business that way. And so I think a lot of it is times we put on the politically correct purpose in our life and not really what we truly desire.
Yes, being yourself always shines through to the other person. You know, sometimes people try to hide that and disguise that, but it does shine through somewhere underneath. And just tapping in briefly around the networking. So as a networker, networking out there, you read out my bio. I've done a lot with BNI, Business Network International, which many people know. Of course, it's an international organization. It's a great organization to be part of. But as you just said, you know, it's a regular, you got to be there every single week. So sometimes, yes, it becomes almost a chore, you know, to have to do that. So you always like to look at the positive of it. How can I connect with more? What's my achievement for today? Or what do I really just want to do today? I just want to have a chat with people. I don't want to do anything other than just be happy. So yes, be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, just tie, you know, again, just tie your business in with your true purpose and desires in life and figure out, okay, you know, and I just wanted to goof off. I don't know what your purpose is, but whatever it is, that BNI, that networking meeting, you know, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I went to a networking event called CEO Space. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I've been a member for probably 15 years, and this is the first time in about a year I've gone. And because that's seriously a full day commitment, because they have a lunch and networking, and it's an hour drive there, 3 hours there, an hour drive back. And, but I just went there just, you know, with a specific purpose in mind. You know, two purposes. One, I wanted to have fun. And two, I said, I'm going to see if there's anyone there that I can bring on to the show and interview. And so with that one purpose in mind, I walked out of there with 5 contacts to interview on my show in the future. I've already interviewed one. Tried to interview one last week, but technology got in the way and didn't have a show last week. So
yes, that's a great way, going with a purpose for sure.
Yeah, great. How can a leader, you know, and this is big because there's a lot of training that needs to happen in network marketing. So how can a leader provide their team with inspiring training instead of the same old stuff? And while you're putting your thoughts together, that's really why I've gone in to the network marketing industry, is because everyone goes to the same trainers. They teach the same stuff. They read the same publications. And there's really nothing that has changed in the last 60 years or however long network marketing has been involved. And so I'm coming in with the purpose to actually shake that up, show that there is another way. If network marketing is a true business, then true business principles should apply. And so with that said, I just wanted to give you a little minute to think. So how can leaders provide inspiring training?
My team always told me inspiring. They got inspired when we had, first of all, regular training hours, which a lot of businesses don't do. I know in network marketing it is done, but not always regularly. So I always set regular training times. And the big thing that my team was telling me that they loved and inspired them was to involve them all the way through the training, that I constantly involved them by asking questions and getting them involved and validating their input by saying, tell us more about us, show us how you would do that. So in my jewelry business, my team needed to make phone calls, which is similar to network marketing when you have to ring someone up. So some of the girls weren't so keen to pick up the phone and call someone. We talked about why it was easy for some of the others to pick up the phone and talk to someone. And they took that on board. They got inspired. Oh, this girl, you know, she loves to say such and such. wow, maybe I can try that. So inspiring your team by involving them into the training, by getting them to share their ideas and their ways of dealing with things. Obviously, if something's not working for everyone, you can pick that up and you can soften that out as the leader. But they love it when they get involved, and they love it when you acknowledge them that they have value to contribute as well. And it inspires them. Like people were telling me afterwards, I love that idea. I'm going to do that right now. And they went out there and they made those calls. And it created a whole new feel for the shop and for the customers as well.
Yeah, and a couple of thoughts came into there. You know, obviously being consistent on having training every Thursday night or Saturday morning or whatever that is, and have that consistent so everyone knows about it is an excellent idea. And then getting the whole team involved and engaging them in the training process. So many times leaders get up there and they have an hour or 2 hours and they just kind of talk for the whole 2 hours and never really engage anyone. And that is really important, because I just recently finished a business training with a gentleman by the name of Aaron Scott Young. And he shared a study with us. And of course, he was talking about employees, but the same thing applies to team members. But you know, when you ask someone, what do you think the number one reason is that individuals quit their jobs? And every time I ask that, everyone says, well, not enough pay. You know, I don't get paid enough. I quit for that. But in this survey, and I forget how large it was, but the number one reason was that these employees did not feel like they were being listened to or being part of the team as a whole. And actually being paid or you know, leaving for a better paying job was actually number 5 or 6 reason why they left. And so as network marketers, we have a whole team of volunteers. And so it's more critical than ever to engage those individuals, let them be heard, and make them feel like they are part of the team.
That's such a wonderful point, such an important point, Mark, that you just raised there. People do not leave a job necessarily for better pay when they are an employee in a business situation that I have experienced as well. It is always because they don't feel acknowledged. Mm-hmm. So especially with network marketing, of course, everybody wants to be acknowledged because everyone has the same opportunities to get that higher income for themselves. They are their own master on the path. What gets in the way is when these others are not acknowledging them, particularly the leaders. So true. So powerful.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks a lot. Let's move on. And now I know you have 5 of these, but what are a couple of steps in making your team feel important? You know, if our audience wants to learn all 5, I encourage them to go buy your book and learn from that. But what are just, you know, 2 steps in making the team feel important?
Definitely interact with them. Get to know them personally and interact with them. No matter how big your team is, the other person wants to feel valued, and that is when you interact with them. That is the most important part. And number 2 is to praise. Praise is so important. We are probably, I'm sure we all know that from the little children upwards, praise is an important part. It still is an important part when you are working with people, when you lead people. Praise them. No matter what they've done, always look at something that you can praise them for. That's the 2 really most powerful parts I would suggest.
Yeah, and that's so important in just bringing it into the brick and mortar business, but it's the same for network marketing. But last week, my wife has a job, and last week the business she's working for had a special project. And she put in 80 hours last week to do her normal duties, as well as to pull this event off. And she loves to put events together and loves that. But she came home a little disheartened and a little discouraged because after working an extra 30 hours, you know, she normally works 50 hours, 60, but working an extra 20, 30 hours, there was not one word of appreciation or praise or, gee, that was really great. And so it's really, so, you know, she came about that close to telling them what they could do with their job and leaving it, but she does enjoy it for the most part. So,
yes,
so.
That's a big part. We all like to be appreciated with a few words. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. So what are two biggest of the 7 deadly sins of leadership? Again, you have 7, but we'll just tease our audience a little bit with the 2 of them. And so go ahead and share those.
Really deadly sin as a leader is that, you mentioned that already earlier, to be arrogant, to feel you are the leader, you know everything and you all know better, and bring that out in that way. That really is a big sin to be that way. And the other one is not acknowledging that your people are there. And we've talked about that a little bit already. You are part of it. It's all an interwoven, way that you have to work with people. You cannot do things on your own. So acknowledge others and see the value in them at all times. When leaders don't do that, when they give commands and they just say, you know, in a very autocratic way, how and what you have to do, people won't follow you. That's a huge, huge no.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's wrap it up with the one, I call it simple, but it's probably really not that simple, but it's simple to ask. So how can I attract loyal, hardworking distributors to my team and network marketing business?
You'll attract them when you can come to be yourself and get them to like and to trust you. You'll do that by being genuine, by being authentic is probably a good way, and always looking to the other person as being of value. If you value other people, they will value back, and you'll attract those loyal people who want to be like you. They can see that in you the moment you value them. That's what's been my experience with all the teams I've worked with, the people that I've had in businesses, the people I've had in network marketing, and the people that I've been surrounded with even now in online situations where you have online teams. It's about putting that value out there and value those people, and you will create loyalty from everyone that you come in touch with.
Okay, great.
Value the other person. That's a big point.
Great. I love that. And I'm going to add just a little more to that, but it's a little off base on what you shared, but I think it's pretty important to understand this. And I had a guest not too long ago, and I said something, and he didn't agree with it, but he said, who am I to disagree with the host of the show? And so, but I bring that up because if you disagree with this, don't hesitate to tell me, because that's, if we both had the exact same beliefs and opinions, then there really wouldn't be any reason to have this conversation. I could just have it by myself. And so, but in network marketing, they teach to have this vision statement. What is your life going to be like? Get the vision board with the big house, the car, the vacations, whatever it is that you want. But here is one thing that I've recently learned. And of course, in marketing, I always talk about finding your ideal client. who is that one person that's perfect for you and your business? And I think that it's pretty important anymore. I've just realized this in the last couple of months, that it's great to have that vision statement about where you want to go, but part of that vision statement should also be a description of who is that ideal client, who is that ideal distributor, and make that part of that vision statement so that you're attracting those individuals that you want to work with. I know, you're recruiting individuals into your business that you're going to train, you're going to go on trips with, you're going to, they really become a second family to you. And so I think part of attracting the hardworking distributor is, number one, you've got to define in your own mind who that hardworking distributor is and what their characteristics are.
Great point, Mark. I do agree with you, not disagree with you totally. And we touched on personalities earlier. Here's a point to consider. There are different personalities out there, and ideal from a personality perspective only, I'm talking now. Ideally for network marketing, it's that promoting type of person that love to talk about and that love to connect with people quick and easily. They are the center of every party. Great people to have in your business, particularly in your network marketing business. But consider that all other personality types also have a role to play. With only promoter type personalities, your systems fall down in the back end. So you need systems people as well. You need those that can point out, hang on a minute, this is not really working. So it's good to look at, yes, that ideal person you'd like, but as the leader, make sure you select a range of different ones that will also, hold up your framework around you and around others, and just involve them all. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point. I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate you gently disagreeing with me. But Sigrid, before we leave, is there anything specific you'd want to share with our audience? And if you have a giveaway or, share with us any final thoughts, how our audience members can get a hold of you. Do you have a free white paper, something like that they can get involved with? And of course, if so, I'll put all this information in the comments for the replay as well.
I was considering of getting that organized, and I didn't, Mark. It was a bit short notice. But what I would like to say is the questions that you actually posed to me, particularly in relation to network marketing, I would love to create a white paper for your audience, for your participants, and have that available as a giveaway, because I think those points are so relevant. And they are so easily, created for that particular area of dealing with people. The message that I'd like to leave with the viewers and the listeners is enjoy what you are doing. And the minute you enjoy that, other people will get that enjoyment from you. Connect with everybody. Each person in this world has something valuable to share. And the more people you connect with, the more you will see that. There is nobody on their own that are not valuable. We all have value. Acknowledge that in yourself and in others.
Yeah, great. I appreciate that. That's a great final thought. So again, I'd like to thank you for being a guest today. I want to especially thank you for helping me take my show international now. So I am no longer just a United States show. So thank you, Sigrid.
We'll promote that here.
and I think even though you're in Australia, I think just because of your background, I get to include Switzerland, Germany, and a few other places. So, but
sure.
And until next week, to your marketing success.